Welcome to Lecture 6, Installation of OpenSuse 64-bit. In this lecture, we'll look at how to install OpenSuse 64-bit in the virtual machine that we created using VMware Player. And then press enter. We are now in the download page. Type of computer we have, that is 32-bit PC or 64-bit PC. For this demonstration, we'll choose the browser is asking us whether we want to open or save the We'll pause the video. On the desktop, you can see the OpenSuse file that we downloaded. Let's open the VMware. We have the VMware Player application up and running. On the top left corner of VMware Player, we can see OpenSuse 64-bit, which is the name of the virtual machine that we created. Select Open. And at the bottom right, we can see Edit Virtual Machine Settings. We'll click on the Edit Virtual Machine Settings. Now we are in the Virtual Machine Settings window, and we can see the list of hardware that our virtual machine is. Using the physical drive or using the ISO image file. For this demonstration, we'll select Use ISO image file. As we have already done, convenience, we have the ISO image file on our desktop. So we'll click on the Browse button to browse our desktop to locate the file. We have found the file, so we'll select the ISO image file of OpenSuse, and then we'll click on the Open button. Window, and on the top left of VMware Player, we have the Player menu, and when we click on the Player menu, we can see a pop-up menu. When we select File, because we don't want VMware Player to prompt us to install VMware tools when we try to install OpenSuse. We'll demonstrate the installation of VMware tools later in a separate chapter. So we'll click on the OK button to continue. Of OpenSuse 64-bit. So we'll click on the Play Virtual Machine to continue. Our virtual machine is now booting up. And on the top left of VMware Player, we can see a hint that says we should press Ctrl G to direct our input into the virtual machine. So we'll use Ctrl G to interact with the virtual machine when needed. In the virtual machine, we are presented with the OpenSuse installer. By default, boot from hard disk is selected and it is in timer mode, which means that if we don't select any other option within 60 seconds, the installer will try to boot from the hard process by pressing the enter key. The installation process has started and will be presented with a web the license agreement. You can click on the next button to continue. See that Use Automatic Configuration is selected by default. This will let the installer to automatically select the configuration for various services. Deselecting this option will allow us to manually configure the services. We'll leave to the default settings and then we'll click on the next button to continue. We are in the clock or by selecting the region and the time zone manually from the drop-down menu. We have a choice of keeping the hardware clock or CMOS clock in UTC/GMT time or local time. UTC stands We are in the desktop will look similar to Mac operating system. We'll stick to the default KDE as it is recommended for users already using Windows operating system. We'll click on the next button to continue. Our next screen shows the suggested partitioning. The installer will itself suggest the partition scheme for us. OpenSuse will need We'll click on the next button to continue. Now we are in the Create New User screen. If you want, we can enter the full name of the user and that would generate the username, but it is not necessary. It should be noted that username and user's For this demonstration, we'll enter a simple password. We'll have to confirm the password, so we'll type it once again. We can make this password as a root password by selecting the option Use the password for system administrator. If you want, we can enable this account to receive the emails sent to the root account, but we'll stick to the default setting. By default, automatic login is enabled, which will allow the user to log in without using the password when OpenSuse will start. For security reasons, it is advisable to uncheck this option. Since our password is simple, we'll get a warning as soon as we'll click on the next button. It will show us the installation settings. We would like to add a package called Linux Kernel Development that is available under the software category. So we'll click on Software. We are now in the Software Selection and System Tasks window. Let's scroll down to find Linux Kernel Development. We found Linux kernel development, so we'll select it. The actual OpenSuse installation will start when we confirm the settings by clicking on the Install button. We are prompted with a confirmation installation window to confirm our settings. We'll click on the Install button to continue. It is performing the installation by preparing the disk and then deploying images. This will take several minutes and it doesn't require any input from us. So we'll fast forward this video until the installation is almost complete. and it will take you a few seconds before it starts the automatic configuration. OpenSuse is now preparing to configure the services using automatic configuration. Now the automatic configuration is complete, and it is now preparing to present the login screen. We'll click on the login button to log into OpenSuse. We are logged in, and OpenSuse is presenting us click on the OpenSuse icon on the bottom left corner to bring up the application launcher to access the applications in OpenSuse. Here, we have summarized what we have learned in this chapter. Thank you for watching.